Imagine the sharp, echoing click of a heavy padlock snapping shut under the golden haze of a fading sunset, sealing off an entire harbor filled with gleaming luxury vessels. Their owners' frantic yells piercing the salty breeze like distant thunder, all because the neighborhood association that once bullied me over my modest sailing skiff had no clue they'd awakened a storm they couldn't weather, the kind that builds slowly from the horizon, gathering force with every ignored warning, until it crashes down with unrelenting fury. And there I stood, key in hand, the weight of months of suppressed rage finally lifting as their empire of entitlement crumbled before my eyes. That's the sound of sweet, hard-won retribution, the kind that simmers deep in your chest after being pushed to the brink, the metallic tang of chain-link fence vibrating with the weight of justice finally tipping the scales, and me, feeling a mix of vindication and quiet amusement at how one man's refusal to bend could topple a tyrant's throne. Watching their world grind to a halt while the waves whispered secrets of resilience I'd learned from a lifetime at sea. What would you do if the very people meant to foster community turned into tyrants, finding you into oblivion over something as innocent as a boat that brought you peace after a lifetime of chaos? The simple joy of dawn patrols on the water, rod in hand, escaping the ghosts of a failed marriage and endless deployments. Let me pull you into this tale from the beginning, where the waves lapped gently against dreams that were about to crash headlong into reality. A story of inheritance turned battlefield, of hidden rights unearthed like buried treasure, and of a quiet veteran who discovered that sometimes the deepest waters hold the strongest currents. I'm Alex Hawthorne, 47 now, a former Navy engineer who'd seen enough rough seas to last a lifetime. From patching hulls in typhoons to navigating the choppy waters of a divorce that left me adrift, stripped bare except for my love of the open water and the quiet thrill of casting lines at dawn, where the world felt manageable, just me, the horizon, and the pull of the tide. When I inherited my late aunt's coastal haven in Baycrest Haven, Oregon, it felt like fate handing me a second chance, a slice of paradise with sweeping ocean vistas that stretched endlessly, a sturdy pier all my own jutting out like a promise of stability, and my faithful 1985 Grady White, named Salty Breeze, weathered but reliable. Her fiberglass hull scarred from adventures, yet her engine humming like an old friend's reassurance, the kind of vessel that had carried me through tempests both literal and emotional, pulling me from the depths when life tried to drown me. Baycrest Haven promised serenity, a cluster of 250 seaside homes nestled among rugged cliffs and whispering pines, where the biggest drama should have been debating the best bait for halibut or watching seals bask on distant rocks. The morning mist rolling in like a soft blanket over the bay, coffee steaming in my mug as I tinkered on the deck, feeling the years of shipyard grime and marital wreckage wash away with each incoming tide, the salty spray a balm for wounds that time alone couldn't heal. But then came Eleanor Hargrove, the epitome of entitled oversight, 54 years old, reigning over the Seaview Association for a decade with an iron fist wrapped in velvet gloves, cruising around in her polished silver Mercedes that screamed status louder than a foghorn, a property broker by trade, which fueled her fixation on curb appeal and her knack for belittling anyone who didn't measure up. Her world one of manicured lawns and inflated egos, where deviation was a sin. She appeared at my Pier 1 crisp morning, clipboard in hand, oversized shades perched like armor against the world, scanning my setup as if it were a blight on her perfect domain, her heels clicking sharply on the wooden planks, and right then, a knot twisted in my gut, warning me that calm waters were about to churn, that this woman, with her forced smile and judgmental gaze, saw me not as a neighbor but as an intruder in her curated kingdom. Barely 4 months in, the blow landed via registered mail, a sting that burned like salt water in a fresh wound. Infraction alert for an unattractive watercraft breaching visual guidelines, demanding I haul away my impeccably kept Salty Breeze within a month or swallow escalating penalties of $250 a day, the letter's cold formality masking the personal vendetta I sensed brewing. Make no mistake, my skiff was spotless, state-compliant, a testament to my engineering precision with every bolt tightened and surface polished, yet it didn't exude the opulence she craved, clashing with her vision of elite sailors and pristine horizons. her standards a thinly veiled excuse to enforce conformity. Thinking it a simple mix-up, I attended the next Seaview Association gathering, hoping reason would prevail amid the stale air of the hall, filled with creaky seats that groaned under shifting weights and dim bulbs flickering like hesitant confessions, the room heavy with unspoken tensions. But there Eleanor presided like a corporate overlord, her polished nails tapping rhythmically as she dismissed my points with a rehearsed grin, declaring, "Mr. Hawthorne, our enclave upholds certain expectations. Perhaps you'd thrive elsewhere aligned with your pursuits." Her tone laced with disdain for my truck driving, hands-on existence that didn't align with her curated elite, the word pursuits dripping with condescension, as if my calloused hands and practical life were stains on her glossy brochure. In that moment, surrounded by neighbors' averting gazes, fear etched in their postures like shadows from a looming gale, it dawned on me this wasn't merely about a boat. It was class warfare disguised as rules, her way of purging those who disrupted her polished facade. And as I left, a fire ignited within, born from years of naval discipline where orders were followed but injustice challenged, whispering that bullies like her thrived on silence. But I'd learned in the service that some battles demanded a stand. Even if the odds seemed stacked like rogue waves, the emotional churn inside me, a mix of anger at the unfairness and a quiet resolve to protect the legacy my aunt had left, her property not just land, but a sanctuary she'd fought to keep free from such pettiness. As the harassment escalated, like a squall building on the horizon with dark clouds massing and winds whipping up foam on the crests, Eleanor ramped up her assault, spiking fines to $600 daily when I held firm, scrutinizing every visitor to my place with bogus citations that piled up like driftwood after a storm. The mechanic who lent tools hit with a ticket for lingering. The takeout driver slapped with another for idling too long, turning my home into a watched fortress under her relentless gaze, her surveillance as unyielding as high tide eroding the shore. She went further, lodging false reports with local authorities alleging I ran a for-profit charter service from my residential spot, summoning inspectors who poked around for permits I didn't require, their questions probing like hooks in flesh, burying me in red tape designed to wear me down, to make me pack up and vanish rather than endure her vendetta, the scent of engine oil and brine from my routine upkeep becoming my anchor amid the madness, a reminder of why I fought for the freedom I'd earned after decades fixing naval rigs in unforgiving swells, the inner turmoil bubbling as I balanced the desire for peace with the growing fury at her abuse of power. Yet she overlooked the resilience forged in military bureaucracy, the kind that teaches you to navigate mazes of forms and regulations without losing your bearings. So while she played queen from her throne of self-importance, I delved into archives at the county hall, poring over dusty ledgers that reeked of forgotten disputes and faded ink, photocopying titles under buzzing lights that hummed like persistent doubts. My evenings consumed by this quest, coffee growing cold as I traced lineages of ownership, and there, buried in legalese that twisted like kelp in currents, I unearthed my first victory. Aquifer entitlements, ancient water privileges tied to my aunt's land, unbreakable by any association edict, echoing her old advice to always verify boundaries, for hidden assets often outvalue the visible, her words now a lifeline pulling me from the depths. Deeper still, an outdated pathway covenant granted my plot-exclusive harbor perks, predating Eleanor's regime by generations, a shield she'd never anticipated, and as I pieced it together, a quiet thrill stirred, mixed with wry amusement at her overreach, for in pushing me, she'd handed me the tools to push back, the discovery igniting a spark of hope amid the exhaustion, reminding me of family bonds that endured beyond the G-rave. My aunt's foresight, a quiet act of love protecting her kin from the very predators now circling. Allies emerged from the shadows, like beacons cutting through fog on a moonless night, starting with Mrs. Harlow, the 76-year-old widow nearby whose garden bloomed defiantly against association rules, her eyes sharp with suppressed fury from years of noting Seaview Association wrongs, confiding over tea in her cozy kitchen scented with fresh-baked scones that Eleanor had ousted the Ramirez clan with trumped-up disturbances over family gatherings that brought life to quiet streets, forced the Patel's away over garden quibbles that masked deeper prejudices, her voice a blade honed by injustice, assuring me I wasn't alone, that perhaps I could end her tyranny, her stories fueling my resolve, evoking a sense of communal tragedy where fear had silenced voices for too long. Documenting became my ritual, every call taped. Legal in Oregon. Each encounter captured on camera with timestamps like battle logs. Violations logged with military meticulousness, stacking evidence like ammunition in a bunker, the inner conflict raging. Part of me yearning for the simple life I'd sought, the peaceful casts at sunrise where worries dissolved in the rhythm of reels, another relishing the strategy. The subtle humor in outmaneuvering a self-proclaimed ruler with facts over force, turning her weapons against her. Tensions mounted as she convened urgent sessions to impose new harbor restrictions, branding my skiff apparel to her elite boating circle with charts of imagined hazards. Her feigned worry for safety as transparent as glass in sunlight, then stripping my trailer rights despite its lawful spot in my driveway. Whispers turning to smears that followed me like seagulls trailing a trawler, painting me as the erratic ex-sailor unfit for society, isolating me while I countered by attending civic forums packed with concerned citizens, uncovering gripes about harbor pollution from oily sheens rainbowing the surface, noise from revving engines shattering evenings, illegal discharges from those same lavish crafts that fouled nesting grounds for seabirds, transforming into the vigilant observer, camera in hand at dawn as mist lifted, logging spills and breaches with notes on wind directions and tidal flows. The irony delicious as her safety ploy backfired against her own, a light chuckle. Escaping me at the absurdity, yet underscored by the deeper injustice of environmental neglect in pursuit of privilege. Enter Dr. Elena Vargas from the Coastal Guardians, arriving unannounced with data charts exposing 2 years of downstream toxins leaching into estuaries vital for salmon runs, hinting at on-site probes if access allowed. Her implications heavy with potential for broader impact, her passion for the bay's health mirroring my aunt's quiet stewardship. And in my aunt's old files tucked in a weathered trunk smelling of cedar and sea salt, revelations of the harbor's original communal status. Privatized through dubious deals Eleanor inherited and expanded, my aunt's resistance preserved in letters like a roadmap to reclaim. The emotional weight hitting hard, a blend of grief for her struggles against similar bullies and fierce determination to honor her fight. Her handwritten margins filled with notes on legal precedents that now armed me like heirloom weapons. Probing further, I targeted her broker credentials with complaints of misuse, knowing reputation was her currency. Nights blurring in legal tomes at the library where silence amplified my focus. Boundaries traced with exactitude on yellowed maps. Her facade cracking without comprehension as she snapped at board members and leaked emails. As activists queried pollution sources, regulators probed her conduct. Officials fielded reports from emboldened residents, pressure mounting from all sides. Like converging fronts in a nor'easter, her desperation palpable in hurried meetings overheard through open windows. Yet she persisted, hiring snoopers who tailed clumsily in rental cars, towing my boat on flimsy pretexts that cost me a day of haggling at impound lots reeking of rust and regret, blacklisting me at suppliers where clerks averted eyes apologetically, the pettiness almost comical, if not so vicious, evoking memories of naval hazing that built character but here only steeled my spine. But the twist shattered everything. In a vault's dim glow at the local bank where fluorescent hums echoed my pounding heart, my aunt's cash revealing not just the shorefront everyone saw, but submerged lots bottlenecking the harbor mouth like a natural chokehold. Leased wrongly to the association for years under fraudulent claims, her note a ghostly directive scrawled in fading ink. If they target you as they did me, this is your edge. Use it wisely to safeguard what matters. The realization. Crashing like breakers on rocks. Every fee fraudulent. Permits invalid. Environmental sins amplified to crimes with federal teeth. The power shift dizzying as I envisioned their yachts marooned. Inner triumph bubbling with light sarcasm at their blindness. For water rights, like submerged threats, wield unseen might. Controlling more than land ever could. A profound sense of connection to my aunt overwhelming me. Her foresight a shield for the family she cherished, turning personal loss into Collective gain. With the noose tightening, Eleanor spiraled into frenzy, banning me from shared spaces with proclamations read like wartime decrees, labeling my skiff a menace equivalent to hazards she'd ignored, splurging on attorneys from upscale firms to contest my claims with bluster and briefs, defaming me as volatile in community newsletters that landed like propaganda, even scheming committal plots through anonymous tips to health services, her moves reeking of panic like low tide exposing rot, while I erected a security barrier along my lines, legally sound yet strategically choking the channel with posts driven deep into seabed, contractors joking about the Great Wall of the Bay as chain links rose, dawn revealing a locked-in fleet, horns blaring in discordant symphony, engines futile against the blockade, the chaos a symphony of comeuppance that had me suppressing a grin from my peer, her calls frantic to officials who cited property laws in return, the tension peaking as media stormed. In Via Mia Lopez's expose, Harbor Hostage, Rights versus Riches, igniting debates on forums and front pages, her board fracturing with resignations whispered in hushed tones, spouse Charles fleeing amid scandal to a downtown condo, her unraveling public in disheveled appearances at stores, pacing shores in delirium under starlit skies, sabotage whispers intercepted through Mrs. Harlow's network of watchful eyes, cameras poised for her downfall like traps set for poachers. The climax erupted at the packed Civic Hall, air thick with anticipation and the scent of popcorn from overflow crowds outside, lights glaring on sweat-beaded brows, Eleanor railing from the podium with veins bulging, accusing me of sabotage and forgery in a voice fracturing under strain like ice under pressure, her allies shifting uncomfortably as truth surfaced until I rose slowly. Briefcase unveiling submerged deeds with notary stamps gleaming, stolen millions detailed in ledgers, Dr. Vargas's pollution proofs triggering uproar with graphs showing toxin spikes endangering local fisheries and children's beaches, the room erupting in shouts and demands, commissioner calling for order amid flashing cameras, insurance voids sealing her fate as yacht owners paled at personal liability, her breakdown raw and unfiltered, screams of plots met with victims' testimonies pouring forth like released floods. Mrs. Harlow leading the charge with her folder of abuses, applause thundering. For my vision of equitable access, cleanup funded by culprits who now faced audits and fines, her storming out the final nail in her coffin, the emotional catharsis sweeping through me like a cleansing wave, years of bottled frustration released in that moment of communal reckoning. In the wake, harmony bloomed like spring tides after winter storms. Eleanor stripped of her license in a hearing where former clients testified to her manipulations, divorced in disgrace with Charles citing embezzlement in filings that made headlines, vanishing to shadows in a distant state where rumors followed like persistent currents. The harbor reborn communal with ramps widened for all, families boating freely under inclusive rules, Mrs. Harlow steering transparent reforms that audited every penny and empowered residents through open votes, scholarships from revenues honoring naval kin like my aunt's unspoken dreams, festivals celebrating resilience with bonfires and shared stories under starry skies, values soaring with inclusivity drawing diverse families to shores once gated, my aunt's legacy alive in every ripple of restored what? Heirs, the injustices sting fading into pride as salty breeze became a symbol of defiance. Mornings now filled with communal joy, waves whispering closure to a battle won not just for me, but for all who'd suffered in silence. The emotional release profound, a testament to standing firm against bullies, proving that rightful vengeance, tempered with community good, can heal deep wounds, restoring faith in justice's slow but inevitable tide. But tell me, was this pushback justified, or does it blur lines between justice and overreach? Where do you draw the boundary on fighting back against unchecked authority? And have you faced a similar moral crossroads in your own battles for fairness?